Okay, so I'm going to do my best to show you how I did the candy effect using Photoshop CS5 and with Paint Shop. And I had to fool around with it because I couldn't use the inner bevel because it didn't come out right. It looked real bad. So I did, when I put it into Paint Shop, I had to use Alien Skin eye candy. And these are the different layers over here. Let me turn off all of them so you can see where to start with. Okay, so the font that I used is called Old Gate Lane Outline, and the canvas size I think is like 650 by 250, and the size of the font is 200 pixels, and I just picked the color like hot pink color for the tutorial. And then I duplicated that layer 2 more times, and when I duplicated it, I went to eye candy and I put in the following settings. Hold on, I'm going to show you what settings I used. Whoops, hold on. Okay, bevel, and I saved it so I could show you what the settings are. It's called Stretched Plastic, and then I went to the basic settings and I changed the width percent to 31.34, height to 100, turn the smoothness off, turn the round corners off. And I did shade interior, but I don't know what difference that makes. Yeah, you can do that or you cannot do that. It depends on you because you're going to put a bunch of stuff on top of it anyway. And then also make sure you turn off your lighting, because if you don't, it's going to put a bunch of weird little white jaggedy looking lines on there, and that's not supposed to be there. So just turn that all the way off. And the bevel profile is set to flat, not button, so make sure you put that on flat. Okay, after I did that, I duplicated it on the second duplication, which is this layer. I went back to eye candy again, and this time there was a different set of settings that I put in. It's still on soft stretched plastic, but I changed the lighting and stuff. So keep these settings the same, but for your lighting, try to put that lighting ball right in the middle as close as you can get it, and then turn it all the way up as bright as you want to get it. And once you've pretty much filled in the middle of the bevel parts, that's all you need to do with that. Hit OK. So that it's not so shiny, you can change the opacity of it from super high. I put it down on 47. And after I did that, I made 2 more duplicates of this layer because you need to add 2 cutouts for the highlights of it. So you duplicate a layer, stand on the duplicate layer, go to Effects, 3D Effects, Cutout, and make sure that it's not filled with an interior color and that your shadow color is white. For the first one, well, it'll depend on the size of your text, but for my text I use -3 and -5 with the opacity on 100 and just a teeny bit of blur, so I put 4.35. And then I came over here and I changed the overlay, the blending option to screen. And then on the second duplicate, I went back to cutout again, and I did the exact same settings as before, but I did them in the opposite way. So it would be, instead of -3, -5, it'll be +3 and +5, and leave everything else the same. Shadow white, no fill, hit OK. And then turn that layer to screen too. And it still looks a little funky because you got to put more stuff to it. Okay, so after you do that, go and highlight your text layer the ones that's filled, like the solid fill with the eye candy on it, and do selection, select all, and then float, and then defloat so that it doesn't put it on a separate layer. And after you do that, go up into your gradients and choose the gradient that is, which one did I use? I think I used this one, foreground to background into transparent with black, so that it's black into a transparency and then black to back into black again. And angle at 45, repeats it's 3. You could probably change that if you want to make it look a little different, but that's why where I set it, so that you can actually see a little bit of change on that layer. And then, because when you have black, if you put it in overlay mode, it gives it a nice little funky metallic look to it. So I changed that layer to overlay. Okay, then you need to go all the way to the bottom, and you need to do select, select all, float, defloat again. And then you have to, wait, no. Take that back. Don't do that. Stand on your candy layer, use your magic wand, select the outside of the text, make sure you get in between the letters, and then invert it so that you're filling everything inside your selection. And then I filled that with this rainbow gradient, which I don't know if I made this gradient or if it was already in there, but look in your gradients and see if you can find a rainbow. Where is it at? Ugh. Rainbow, there it is. And the repeat should be 0, and the angle should be 0. Okay, hit OK, and then flood fill your selection that's on the bottom of the other candy layers, so that the spaces in between the font get filled with the rainbow. Okay, leave it selected, make a new layer below it because we're going to make a stroke around it. Go up into your selections and do modify your selection, select selection borders. Do it on both sides with a selection of 2. And I just did it on both sides because I didn't want there to be any gaps to show through. And anti-alias on, click OK. And then you fill that with a solid color that's lighter than your original color of your text. So I filled it with like a light pink color, and that just helped it to stand out more. After you fill that, I think you can turn that off now. Select none. Okay, and I think that's pretty much it, except for the fact that on the rainbow fill layer, I added a drop shadow to make it stand out more. And that's pretty much how you do it in Paint Shop. And if you use Old Gate Lane outline font, pixel, looks like I had it at 205 on here because I think the canvas is a little bit bigger. Still hot pink. I turned down the spacing between the letters. I don't know if that's called kerning or whatever it's called, but I had turned that down so that they would be a little bit closer together and not so far apart. Then you go into bevel and emboss. Come on. Okay, when that comes up, these are the settings that you're going to use. Inner bevel, depth of 174%. Size is 9 pixels only because it's a 200 font. And if you change the size of your font, you're going to have to change the size of your bevel. The light is coming from the upper left-hand corner, so it's 32 degrees by 30 degrees. And then the contour of the gloss is changed. Not flat, not button, but this one right here, and it's called ring double, I guess. So you click that, and that's a default, and that comes with Photoshop, so you'll already have that there. And actually, I should have anti-alias clicked, but I didn't have it clicked when I made it, so that's probably going to make it look a little funky. Okay, then go up to your inner shadow. Inner shadow is the same, kind of like the same thing as cutout. The inner shadow is coming from the upper left because that's where your light is coming from, and we're going to use the inner shadow setting as a light setting. You want the color to be white. Make sure you have a white color. And your blend mode is going to be screen. And this should be really small because you want it to fit to the corner of the bevel from the edge to the corner. So I put a distance of 4, no choke, no size, and I left it on that flat contour size because I want it to look like sharp and crisp. And hit OK. And then once you do that, let's see, what else did I do? That might have been it. I think that's it. It was really easy to do it in Photoshop. It came out crazy. Oh, and then you have to do the filling of the background with the rainbow in Photoshop too. So I just did like I did in Paint Shop, used the magic wand tool and selected the outside, then selected in between each letter and hit invert so that it selected the inside. See, select inverse. It's called inverse on Photoshop. And that selects all the insides. I filled that with a plain white. So I changed the foreground color to white and used the bucket paint. Actually, I might have just hit Alt Backspace, which is a quick key. But you can use bucket paint tool and fill it with white. Then you're going to use your layer effects and you're going to add a gradient overlay. And in your gradient overlay, you're going to find a rainbow gradient, and I am pretty sure this is a default and it came with the gradients that were already in here. And if not, go over here and see it's got a bunch of different choices for loading different types of gradients. I'm not sure what's going to come in yours. You might have to look for it, or it might already be there. So if you don't see it, click that little arrow and choose from different gradients. And then if you still need a different kind of gradient, you can download them and then load them from whatever drive you save them to. But anyway, I chose this one. This is the one I used. It doesn't have any transparency on it, solid gradient. And leave the blend mode as normal because you don't want it to fade into the white. You want it to completely cover up the white. And I also, instead of having to make another layer to stroke the outside, I just did stroke straight from the rainbow layer with a size of 3. And again, I chose a lighter pink so that it would stand out from the center part. And I also did the drop shadow off of the same layer because it's the rearmost, it's the lowest layer for that text. So I put a drop shadow with the color of black. Multiply is the blend mode. The light is coming from the upper left hand corner, which is the same for both programs. The distance is 12, size is 5, but you can change that to whatever you want. You can change the opacity, whatever you want. As you see over in this corner, it'll go down and go back up, but whatever the default was, I think I left it there. And contour is flat, and just click OK. I'm going to click cancel because I already did it. And pretty much that's how I did it on this one. I didn't even, when you did it on Photoshop, you really don't even need to run iCandy or any kind of plugin. It'll do it all by itself. So I know I talk fast and you might have to rewind it and go back and listen again, but that's pretty much how I did it. And if you have any questions, just let me know. That's all. Bye.